There's a saying, when you own your own business, it gives you the privilege to work 7 days a week. All right, let me say it again. It gives you the privilege to work 7 days a week. I think that's a mindset that all business owners, including myself, have when they start their business. The key is when you switching that mindset, so you can scale your business and grow it to something that you've envisioned, is sometimes challenging. Hi, everybody. My name's kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Welcome back to our podcast, The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business. Getting that mindset changed to scale your business, to create value, has its certain challenges, but the rewards are sometimes unmeasurable. So to help us break that down today, we're very happy to have with us Andrea Brown, who is the CEO and founder of Frequency 110. Andrea, thank you for being with us today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing
Thank you.
great. So you've built a practice on helping business owners shift a new paradigm, so they have a sustainable business that they can rely on without them being there, 7 days a week. Love to hear a little bit about your background for our audience and how you got into this field. It's very intriguing.
Well, I'm a marketer at heart. I started in advertising and then switched over to what we're going to call the client side later in my career and ran marketing departments as a CMO. And then as my last full-time gig got purchased and executive team replaced, I started as a fractional CMO. And one of the wonderful things I had the pleasure of doing is working with startups and new business owners,
Mm-hmm.
as well as those who are struggling and they like to call on marketing when they're in need of growth and they feel marketing's going to solve it, or they hope, and what I've learned is it's not just marketing. Marketing cannot save everything. You have to have the infrastructure. You have to have the company ready and primed to be able to handle the growth. And so found myself advising a lot on the strategies, on the processes, on what it takes to structure that business. And so I wrote a book about it.
You did write a book about it. In fact, I had the pleasure of reading it. Had great content. It was a very excellent read, and it said, instead of you working for your business, as you say, a business that works for you, right?
Right.
And so there's multiple steps. You broke it down, I think, into 12 great chapters, each phase. And how did you come along with, like, say, understanding the basics in chapter one, right? What's included in that kind of starts shifting that mindset to what you need to start to do to scale your business?
Well, it's the basic questions, right? It's the logical questions you should be asking yourself in order to look at your business as an entity it's supposed to be, to have an objective view. And it's the questions that I find myself asking each leader when I'm working with them. So it's actually helped me catalyst the rest of the chapters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to the end, that's what you should know all throughout the whole building of your business. That's what you should be using as a strategy to build your business.
Right, because
So
there's
at
always
the
an end
end,
game, right? And
yep,
there's always,
the end game.
they
Yeah,
say you start your business with the goal of selling it,
right.
right?
That's the
And
last chapter, but I've debated on keeping that, putting
yeah.
that forward as the second chapter, but it's like, no, they'll get to that and they'll understand.
Well, look,
So,
we're in the business. I mean, we're sell side advisors. We're in the business of helping owners sell their companies, right?
yes.
And some companies have adopted a lot of the strategies, the mindset, right, and have delegated, have key employees, and so they can walk away and not worry
Well,
about
yeah,
things. No, I mean, we're not.
yeah,
They can live if they were not. First question a buyer asks is, "What happens when you're not here?"
exactly. Will
Right?
the company fall apart?
Right.
Yeah. And you do not, whether your end game is to sell, get investors, or pass it on to retire and pass it on to kids, or
Right.
whatever the end game is, take it public, You want that business to be able to thrive with or without you, because that's a successful business. If the business falls apart without you, then it's just an extension of you. And you're going to find a lot of things wrong with that, including stagnation, burnout, I could list lots of things that would happen.
So when you like chapter 2, you talk about the mindset, right? Switching from a worker bee, so to speak, to strategy. Really focus on the important stuff. When you have your questionnaire or just conversation with business owners, when you ask that question, what is the initial reaction like? Because a lot of people work in these silos, including myself at times, right? And trying to let yourself open up to new thinking. So what is the reaction and response, and what are the questions? Or maybe they don't have an answer. I don't know. But what happens to, because this is a big change for a lot of people to start thinking outside the box, so to speak.
Yeah. And that's why they've usually come to me or gotten a book, or they've come to you and they're at a loss because they aren't ready, right, to
Right.
sell the business. So that is the catalyst, or the inspiration for them to start thinking differently. And I'm not going to lie to you, there's a lot of people that just can't swallow that pill.
Right.
They're just in their ways, and unfortunately, that's where they're going to stay, kind of stuck, or get the minimum amount for their business. They want to get the maximum amount for their business, then they really should switch that mindset to a strategic mindset. So you're looking at everything, and every decision you're making is based on strategy. And you've got to balance leadership style that helps you get there. So we kind of skipped over the leadership style, kind of takes you to the strategic mindset, which takes you on to, looking at your finances, positions, processes and procedures, and then your environment that you're creating for your employees, and,
Right.
inspiring them, creating new leaders. Yeah. So it really takes a holistic, for lack of a better word, view of your business, but you have to start with the first questions, and then be open to switching that mindset and there's several mindsets, but the strategic mindset is the most important right at the beginning, because decisions based on strategy are success decisions most
So
of the time.
you gotta have to kind of, you have to start developing trust in other people, right? I mean, because without that trust, you're like, if you're like, I can walk into a business, and I can kind of tell pretty quickly, if every final decision is made over in this room by the owner. So it limits the innovation, it limits the conversations, it limits the interaction with employees about what we think we should be doing, which could create a lot of frustrations, which creates turnover, because people are like this,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So,
loyalty. And not to mention, what about, that business owner or leader in burnout? If you're making all the decisions and doing everything, basically you're pretty much doing everything because you're not inspiring, right? So you feel there's a little micromanaging that ends up happening after that, or heightened emotions, or feeling, of course, the employees feel like they don't matter, right? Because they don't have a
right.
stake in anything. They're just little bees doing what they're told. And that, a lot of business owners would say, yeah, exactly. That's what I want. It's not a good environment, and it doesn't propel your business forward. And it certainly isn't what a buyer would like to see. They would like to see everybody working towards the same goal. They would like to see people thinking out of the box and collaborating and feeling like they have a stake in the business. So there is low turnover, lots of loyalty, and there's the business is being propelled forward because of all these wonderful things you've created, including other leaders that you can count on to help with those decision making and collaborating with you. And you can kind of step back and work on the bigger issues and the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's interesting because it just hit me right now. So we have a lot of business owners like, I want to sell and get out, right? And I say, so what we always say, you don't know what you don't know, right? Don't go with any preconceived notions, because let's go out through our auction process. Let's bring multiple kind of buyers to the table, and you'll have some interesting conversations, because now you're sharing information that you've never shared before, maybe outside yourself, maybe just you and your family. Um, and there could be, to your point, there could be buyers that want you to focus on the things you like to focus on, right? You're not chained to your desk. You're not have to be at the office, 40, 50 hours a week. You can have your trips. You can work from here. You can go here, your second home, whatever. But they want you to be, just help them over the next couple of years with a growth strategy that they've implemented or looking to implement, or you envisioned. And for some reason, you never really were able to execute on it, either for, let's say, financial wherewithal. Maybe you're too conservative, right? You're not looking at the risk reward factor, or just it's just not in your DNA. And so we've had situations where clients said, I just want to sell and I want to work for 6 months and retire, right? We have a client right now, 3rd-year anniversary of selling his business. He's still there. He wanted to sell and leave after 6 months. But they asked him to stay on. I said, we want you to focus on the fun stuff that you like. So, and so it worked out for him and he's enjoying it. But to your point, is that strategic thinking part of it. If you could implement it and start executing on it, which is not easy, right? It's a big lift emotionally to do things like this, is that the value proposition you're creating. So when you do sell, instead of selling maybe for 10 million, if you had done some of this stuff, you're selling now for 20. So the next guy coming in, or next woman coming in, or next company coming in is they see that, they know that, and they're going to see that benefit. So, how does that all play into, a lot of the things that you address here in your book, the business that works for you?
Well, all of it fits, right? So the whole book is designed to increase the value of the business, right? So,
Right.
and all of it working together, from the right questions to the leadership to the strategic thinking to the process procedures, as I said, and then environment and branding, building that brand equity. All of it working together and working in synergy, um, and growing, right? Showing that growth. That is, like you said, what buyers really want to see. But talk about a mind shift to get someone who's been in the trenches, who hasn't been able to let go, to let it go and start being the visionary they've always wanted to be, or should be, right?
Right.
To see the future. So that's a big mind shift, and that would be, I would imagine, as a business owner of something that you've had for a while and you wanted to sell, and you've built it and you've done all the right things and it's growing. And then you're like, oh, I've got all these other ideas I've never been able to do. I would think that'd be a dream come true. Be like, oh, look at all these fantastic things we could be doing. Come here, team. Let's see how we can make it happen. What's going to take. I
Yeah.
think that would be awesome. And I would think a buyer would find that a very attractive business. Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we have in our pitches, our SIMs, right? The offering when we go to market, we have a whole section on growth, right? And we have like 5 pillars of growth, right? Or 5, ways to grow the business. And it's not uncommon. In fact, it's fairly common. There's one, well, we can go into this market, we can go into this product line, we can adapt this new technology, or we've adapted it, we've developed a new product, but it's just kind of been sitting there, right? There's no value because it's never been sold.
Right.
And the
Or
buyer,
researched, or even, yeah, you got to figure that out. Yeah.
right? And so we look at that, and now when we sit down, because buyers, as you know, and that's why you're in your business is growth. They pay based on historical earnings. They buy based on growth opportunities. And if they don't see the growth, then they still may want to buy the business because they can tuck it into another company they own, and they can get synergies and some cost savings, whatever. About you can name a million things, but they're not going to pay X. They're going to pay Y, right?
Exactly. Right. You want to get the maximum value of your business, and you can't do that if things aren't set up properly, if you are still got your, let's just take finances. What if you're still using your own personal finances and you haven't built corporate credit yet
Right.
and using your EIN to fund your business? What if you haven't got any reserves and everything's been, hand to mouth, but yet you've got a great team and they're wonderful and you work well together, but can someone else hop in and start working with that team? So you're not going to get the most value you could out of that business until all of the pieces are in place. And it's really important to understand that first when when you decide you want to sell your business. You have to have all the pieces in place, and it's not as hard as you would envision to be. It feels like it might be, but it's not that hard. I recommend an assessment, go in and not just find out how much the company may be worth, but a whole assessment of the business, of how it's working, what's not working well, what is working well, what steps you need to be taking to get everything working well, including a internal, very quick survey of the perception of all your employees and yourself of your business. It's pretty fascinating when you do that kind of assessment.
I can imagine when you get those assessments back, it's eye-opening. Be understated. The owner's like, oh, right? I never thought about it. People know. People know what's going on.
And sometimes the owners will go, oh, thank you so much for all this. I'll see you later. And then a couple months later, they're like, wait, how do I do all this?
Well, that's the thing. You know, you only have so much time in a day. And again, being in business for yourself, you don't want to be working 7 days a week anymore. And as you get older, like we see a lot of our clients, I would say, are at the back end of their careers and looking for an exit, and then maybe work a couple more years, or maybe roll equity and stay on for one. Someone else can put the capital up and take the risk. But when they look at it, the longer you wait for doing some of the steps you recommend here, the harder it is, because it becomes a point where you get, I want to say the word rigid, but you become risk adverse, right? So your competition just went out and bought this brand new machine that is going to reduce cycle times and make our product this much more quicker and more profitable. And you're looking at it, and you're a business owner, and say you're 65, right? That machine's $1.5 million, right? And so am I at the point?
I'll leave it for somebody else to deal with.
Right. Let someone else to deal with it. And we get that question, right? We get the question from buyers, why haven't they done that?
Yeah.
And I always respond, my answer is, that's your opportunity, because our client's at an age, he's not going to see the return on that. And the risk associated with putting that capital into it right now, he can't justify, or she can't justify. So
right.
This is a huge opportunity for you. He knows what needs to be done. He can help you implement it. He can do that for you, but he's not willing to put in $1.5 million right now to make this happen.
Yeah. And that brings you to optimizing, right? So that is a part of the assessment, what you can do to optimize your business, what technology, what machine, what processes are easy, right? But the technology can be expensive. And so having that kind of an assessment, I would imagine a buyer would be like, oh, this is, like you said, this is great, but why haven't they done it? Well, it's your opportunity. But at least you've done the legwork to find out what can be done, what should be done to optimize your business to be more profitable. And then estimates on how much more profitable it will be if these things get in place. Yeah.
So Andrea, there's so much here to talk about. I think we're just touching the surface of everything you put together in your book, A Business That Works for You by Andrea Brown. I'd love to have you come back, maybe talk a few examples, continue our conversation about ways business owners can scale their company, grow it to maximize value. And if that works for you, we'll have you back for another episode of the podcast.
I would love that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being with us today. Hi, everybody. Again, my name's kdee, President of Osage Advisors. If you have any questions for us, you can visit our website at osageadvisors.com. You can shoot me an email at kdee@osageadvisors.com. Pick up the phone and give me a call at 860-767-3273, extension 1001. And if you enjoy our podcast, Ins and Outs of Selling a Business, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks again for being with us, and have a great day.